Hi Crane Nation, today we are here at Vertical Days, Europe's largest lifting event. You've got just about everyone who's anyone here today. Everything from tower crane providers, mobile crane companies, training providers, all the like. Today we're going to try and speak to the individuals with the expertise to find out why you might want to get into this industry. Come with me. Worn the wrong colour pants. Should have worn my overalls.
Hi, how you doing?
How's it going? Good.
Elliot owns Hawks Cranes, and you're probably in a relatively good position to be able to talk about people that want to get into the industry. Why would they want to get into the industry?
Look, it's a fantastic industry to get involved in. I think the money side, it can be very financially rewarding for any young person to get involved in the industry. And I think at the moment it's really hard as employers to make the awareness of how financially lucrative it can be, and actually not just financial side of things, but you build bridges, you build massive buildings, and it's a really rewarding role, and you can go up from slingers up to supervisors and eventually into the office as an AP. So there's a lot of progression in the role, and going back to the employer side of things, we really want to attract the right people into the industry, so we're making a big effort at the moment to attract those people.
Now, talking about the right people, I always like to sort of detail in, who are the right people?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, obviously when we're looking at a slinger, it really helps if there's some mechanical interest in sort of anything sort of mechanical is something that we really look for. If someone's got a passion for engines, if someone's got a passion for mechanics in general, that's one of the big things that we look for in terms of slingers and crane drivers, that obviously we get to operate machinery like this one behind me.
What sort of money can a mobile crane operator or a crawler crane operator expect to earn? Let's say they know what they're doing, they've done a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's big money, to be honest. I mean, you're going to be earning anything, on a salary basis, anything from £50,000 onwards, which is, it's big money for someone who hasn't necessarily got formal qualifications, but has quite a practical mindset and likes getting hands-on the job. So, yeah, and that will obviously increase number of years that are sort of involved in the business and the role.
We just stood behind this beautiful, beautiful crawler crane right here. What does your fleet look like at Hawks?
So this is one of our bigger ones. It's a 250 Kobelco. Kobelco is being a fantastic brand because it doesn't break down, and that's what we're looking for in the end of the day, keep the customer happy.
Beneficial, right?
Yeah. But yeah, we've got 21 crawler cranes right down from small little 25 tonners up to obviously the 300 tonners, which is a bit bigger than this one. And we're sort of building out, as I said before, bridges, Hinkley Point C, HS2.
Oh, you guys at Hinkley Point?
Yes,
lovely.
yeah.
One of the 500 cranes there.
Yes, yeah, and we just had the first crane at Sizewell 3 weeks ago, so that will be kicking off, and I think that's a really important one for the industry as well.
Where would you find a crawler crane like this being operated?
So you'd find it on these sort of infrastructure projects, as I said, power plants, new rail projects such as HS2. You find it sometimes in building the high-rise, the foundations for the high-rise buildings in London. So yeah, it's a real different sort of use in terms of where the cranes can be found in different type of projects. Marine, working on barges, that's some really interesting. Well, it's actually really interesting. They're building, Thames Tideway is like so needed to clean up the Thames, and you hope that the work that's been done in Thames Tideway, you're going to see a cleaner Thames in the next couple of years, and that's all the work from the like of slingers and everything else involved in the project.
Absolutely. Well,
Elliot, thank you so much for speaking to us. That was absolutely fantastic, and have a great day. Rain's out again. Oh, goodness me. Here we go, inside.
all right guys, so we've come inside the tent to get a bit of shelter here at Vertical Days. It is absolutely raining it down out there. So far, we've spoken to quite a few company owners and pretty senior executives within the lifting industry. But what I think you guys would really benefit from is hearing directly from some of the recruitment specialists. Come with me.
Now we're speaking to Teddy, the operations director at Radius Group. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So the reason I really wanted to speak to you is because you have got that multifaceted experience of being on site. You started as a slinger and now you're an operations director of a very successful company. Looking at where you are now and looking at the guys that you hire, slingers, lift supervisors, operators, what can the guys that are new to the industry or are thinking about joining it, what can they do to make sure they get into employment as quickly as possible?
We've got a multitude of people from different backgrounds in the company. Some of the team have joined us from already being in the lifting industry.
Sure.
Some of the team have joined us from being in a different role within the lifting industry and then grown themselves into a position of supervisory. So coming from a crane operator side to being in there. But for people that are fresh, I think the biggest and most important thing is really about attitude. We always look at a combination of attitude and altitude. So
I like that.
People's capability to operate at a particular level. So knowledge base, understanding, how well can they be trained. But fundamentally, anybody with an attitude that isn't befitting of the team and the company, it doesn't matter what we teach them, they're not going to stay. They can't stay. So ultimately, for me, I'd be saying you have to really maintain a good attitude. You have to be positive, hungry to learn, hungry to grow, want your own future to be successful. Because if you're not, then why would you expect anybody else to do it for you?
That was such a fantastic answer, and I want to lean more into that because it actually ties really nicely into a sort of belief system that I find myself having to break for individuals on a daily basis, which is, would you say that attitude is actually more important than experience?
As a beginner, attitude's the only thing you've got. You haven't got experience yet. Ultimately, if you're hungry to learn, people can't stop you. Leaning into your colleagues, leaning into your supervisors for their growth and support in your own development, they are the key things. Having an attitude where you're hungry to learn, hungry to grow, want to be better for the future, people will also lean into you.
Damien, you've been in the lifting industry for a little while now. Tell me, what's your background?
So my background in the lifting gear, I started 9 years ago, and now I'm a trainer. So I'm doing slinger signal training. We train on the product we have here today, along with other specific lifting items.
Tell me a little bit about what that training looks like exactly.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll go to companies, major manufacturing production companies. We'll do a site survey first. So I'll go in, I'll walk the site, I'll see their operations, I'll see what they're lifting, what specific lifts they have. I'll go back, I'll tailor a course to it, and then we take their engineers and their technicians and we do site-specific training on that. So we're looking at lifting maybe a cylindrical vessel as opposed to lifting a beam or lifting a piece of precast concrete. So it has to be very tailored to what they're doing.
Absolutely, no, that makes a lot of sense. It's very specialist, very specific stuff, obviously. Just drawing on your experience of people that might be new to it and just going back to the more sort of the basics or for the beginners, what advice would you give to someone that's maybe thinking about doing their slinger signaller license, for example?
It's crucial. It's crucial. If you're going out, you're going to go to site. It's one of the most crucial things, and I think it's kind of forgotten about through time. People get comfortable, people relax, people just, they don't take it as serious as they should. So one of the key courses will be slinging and signalling, and it's a really good piece of kit to have in your pocket. You can walk on site. If you're a slinger signaller, you can walk on site, you get work. You're not looking for general labour work, and it's just having that qualification is key.
Absolutely, and I think one of the questions we get asked a lot of the time actually is, if I get the license, if I get the card, am I going to get a job? I've got no experience. I've never done it before. And what I always say to people is, well, of course, no one was born with experience. How do you think a candidate can overcome that lack of experience when they are new, in terms of getting that work and being good at the job?
Questions. I think that's another fear that a lot of people have. They come into things and they won't ask the question. They think they should know it. You can do your slinger signaller course. Experience is going to help you along the way. Ask the question. Get the more experienced guy. Get him to help you. Learn as you go. There's work out there. We just got to be proactive and go after it. And the only way you're going to improve is improve yourself.
Quickly want to show you guys these Genie lifts here. Now, Genie's one of the biggest brands in the world for providing access equipment for hard to reach spaces. The reason I'm showing you this is because when we say the lifting industry, I want you to understand just how big it really is. It includes things like this. So these are all spider cranes, or compact cranes as they're known. So basically they look like little spiders because they've got legs, but they're very good at basically providing lifting solutions in small areas. So they're quite good for putting glass panels in tight London alleyways, for example. I've done quite a few jobs like that in my time. How's it been for you guys today? Nice.
We are speaking to Kirsty and we're speaking to Stephen at the Construction Plant Association. Thank you guys so much for speaking to us. We wanted to find out a little bit about what it is that you guys do and then get sort of some of your insights into why guys might want to get into the construction industry, if at all.
It's not an industry that I'd ever thought about getting into. I wanted to be a hairdresser. Clearly didn't work. But there's so much opportunity and we need to encourage young people to get into the industry. I mean, you want to be a tower crane installer, you want to be a digger operator, or you can go into the hire control side, go up to management, go into training people, you know, just going on to the future. I can't think of a better industry to be in.
It's a fantastic industry. Meet loads of interesting people. Most of the time, yourself included. But yeah,
Myself included.
yourself included. So yeah, so it's very good. And in the last number of years, I've been involved with the Construction Plant Association. Just recently taken over their position as chief executive. Fantastic. And it's all about giving a bit back to the industry and trying to encourage more people into the industry.
One thing that I like to stress to our candidates a lot is that it is really important that you never become complacent in any sort of construction environment. Absolutely, you know, this common sense, you know, is absolutely essential. Complacency, no place for it at all. Tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing to make the industry safer for people.
We provide forums, we call them interest groups, where, you know, in lifting we have crane hoist group, tower crane interest group, where people can meet and discuss common problems to try and find solutions to industry-wide problems. The HSE sit in those meetings, there's no fear. The Health and Safety Executive, there's no fear. We're just trying to all do our best so that we can stop things reoccurring. Often what you find within companies is people think, oh, it's only us that have these problems, or it could be our operatives that let us down, or it could be our machinery, and then they find out it's a common problem so they can find common solutions. It's first class.
What's the best thing someone can do to get qualified and, more importantly, get into work in a lifting career?
It would be so much more helpful if the schools would recognise kids like you and I at 16 and just not keep them at school for the extra 2 years, or if they are going to keep them at school for the extra 2 years, try and find, you know, something that can actually help them with a career in our industry. There's plenty of practical things that the schools can offer vocationally now, out with the school gates, if they really feel they need to keep the child there. What we can do is offer a safe working environment for them to come into and learn, whether that be on the work site or in the workshop or even in the offices, just to get a feel for the industry. For me, it was fantastic, and you know, for you, obviously likewise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be a great start, and also just encourage them that it's not the dead-end job that maybe people would like to have portrayed it to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s. It's quite the opposite. You mentioned earlier on, you can make a really good living at it. You can make a good career at it. You can run your own business out of it if you feel so minded.
100%. Sorry to cut you off there.
Go into training.
Absolutely. One that you actually sort of got me onto a point I'm quite passionate about. I like to stress to people, you know, and I don't say this lightly because this is something that requires, you know, 5-10 years at least on the job. But I mean, the number of people earning over 6 figures in construction is probably higher than most industries. Would you agree with that?
I would say so now. It also depends whereabouts in the country you're based. But yeah, absolutely. Whereas
Project management for some of the top London's top companies, it's fantastic,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it gives us a great grounding for that, because you have to have an overall knowledge of what's going on round about you to be able to do any lifting operations. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
So Kirsty, coming back to you, tell me a little bit, what's the most rewarding part of being in a construction career?
Being part of the backbone of Britain and building things. I mean, you know, as a supplier of the equipment, we not necessarily building it itself, but we're being part of it. And then you see these amazing constructions and all these skyscrapers they build these days, you know, much different to how it once was, you know, with a few bits of brick and mortar going up.
Guys, yeah, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, I'm sure we'll see you over the next few days.
Welcome to see Piers and Associates.
Here's a Bocker crane. They're pretty good for the jobs in those little small, hard to reach places, but they're quite good because mobile cranes, for example, especially if you're setting up in the City of London, often require a full-on road closure. These you can often get away just parking it at the side of the road without having to close the whole thing down. We're now going to go and speak to Wolfcran, one of the UK's largest tower crane providers. They're doing some pretty exciting stuff with technology. Guys, today we're here with Wolfcran and we're speaking to Stephen and we're speaking to Philip, who have very kindly agreed to give us some of their time. Now, both these guys are veterans of the industry. I know they're pretty youthful looking, but you've done your time, haven't you, boys?
Yeah, 20 years in the crane industry for myself.
Absolutely. Now, you sort of started out on site as a crane operator, I think, back in the day, and you were
Yeah.
back in 2005, and you started as a slinger
Around
signaller.
2006, so 18 years and counting, maybe more than that. Yeah.
So it's safe to say you boys did your time out on site.
Yeah.
Just going back to being a crane operator, and I know it's quite self-explanatory what a crane operator is, but from my experience in lifting operations, I always think actually is, whether you're a lift supervisor or an operator or a slinger, you're actually wearing many hats. So tell me a little bit. If I would say, really, what is a crane operator as opposed to just lifting things off the ground? What else is it?
For me, a crane operator is the person that is effectively constructing the building from the beginning when you're coming out of the ground to putting the roofing slabs or balconies into the building at the end. You are operating a £1 million machine, lifting up to 16, 20, 25 tonne in weight at a time. You're taking instructions from your slinger signaller or your lifting supervisor. You're briefed every day by an appointed person or a lifting supervisor to get you ready for the day. You do your checks on the crane, make sure it's all okay for your day's work, and then you sit yourself in your nice warm cab.
Yeah.
Put your kettle on, make a cup of tea, and then you take instructions from your slinger for the day.
What sort of skills or qualities does a good crane operator need to have?
You need to be a good listener. If you're good on a PlayStation or an Xbox, the skills are transferable over to operating a crane. You've got to have good depth perception in understanding where your hook block is to what you're picking up. Attention to detail.
Nice, well, fantastic, thanks for that. And so a lot of the guys that watch this channel are sort of maybe on the cusp of thinking about doing their training. A lot of the time they're sort of trying to make the decision between, should I start out as a slinger? Should I start out as an operator? Now, you've both sort of dabbled in both of it. What would you say to someone that, is trying to decide where to start?
I would say you just go straight in. So I think slinger would be a very good point to start. It makes you understand the crane.
So you would say, if you're new to lifting operations, start as a slinger?
Start as a slinger.
Okay.
You start off as a red card, and with some experience, you can upgrade to a blue card.
Absolutely.
And with that, you begin to understand more about how crane moves and a lot of crane operations. And like myself, that's how I started.
You actually also touched on something that I do like to talk about, and it's one of the most common sort of questions that we get, and it's talking about red cards and blue cards. And as you guys know, there's a bit of a stigma in the industry around that. Now, I think there's sort of two camps here, right? You have the guys that realise you've got to start on your red card, that's the only way in, and they're going to do it no matter what. And then you have the other guys that go, but if I start on a red card, is it worth it? Now, just straight up, what advice do you have for someone who's on a red card? And, can you confirm, of course you can get employed on a red card. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think there are particular projects that are specific around wanting that level of experience, but we have to understand, or the industry has to understand, that to gain that experience, you have to start somewhere. So there are businesses, companies that will take them on because, again, it's about nurturing the future for our industry. Because if we don't, we have to rely on other sources for labour to build buildings.
That's actually a really good point. I won't keep you guys too long because I know there's lots of people here that want to speak to you, and you're a very popular exhibit here today with a big, beautiful tower crane. I don't know if you can see all of that over there, but one final thing I'd like to talk to you guys about is the future of the lifting industry. And I know you guys have got some pretty exciting tech going on over here. So would you like to lead the way and show me what this is? Oh, this way. Wow, look at this. This is an exclusive. Thank you. Wow. So this is the operator's cab.
In this model, you see a comfy. We've got different panels and control video models. So this is a block cam videos, and it will go zoning system that helps the crane operator especially for the zoning system, it prevents collision of cranes.
Absolutely.
So it helps. These are are meant to assist the crane operator.
Did you say it's got air conditioning in here?
Yeah, so normally
Look at that!
Summer days, like, you can really get
Absolutely
fresh.
beautiful. And it's got a bread maker as well, I heard.
That concludes Vertical Fest for 2024. We've spoken to some absolutely brilliant people today. I'd personally like to thank every single one of you for taking the time to speak with us. We will be in Germany next year for Europe's largest crane festival event. Until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you then.
Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, give us a call on the number below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day.